Welcome to BizTalk from central China's Hunan province. This is a new plant with 1.5 million tons of steel-making capacity. Does China need another steel plant? It's already the world's largest steel producer, and the government is trying to shut down small, outdated mills. But join me in an exclusive conversation with the CEO of the world's largest steel maker as he explains why demand for auto steel is on the up and up. China's steel industry faces some cold hard facts. Widespread losses and prices back to 94 levels. Steelmakers admit they make less from selling a ton of steel than farmers from a kilogram of pork. The reason lies in the rampant expansion over the past decade. China's steelmaking capacity tripled to 900 million tons from 2003 to 2012. Recovery seems distant. The property industry's cooling may dent demand even more. Tougher environmental regulations mean higher costs. But one area is still seeing robust growth: auto steel. So much so that China needs to import over 1 million tons of such steel a year, because there's not enough capacity to produce high-end auto steel. Steel that is thinner yet stronger. With auto sales still growing at double-digit rates, automakers are ramping up capacity, especially in less developed regions like central China. Fiat, Beijing Auto, Shanghai Volkswagen are just some of the names with new plants in Hunan province.
Now this plant is very significant, has a very significant presence in our auto strategy. ArcelorMittal is the leading producer of steel for auto applications around the world. We have all the global customers are here. In China and in Hunan we have Volkswagen and Fiat and other customers, plus domestic customers. So it is very important that we commission this project today. This is not about just supplying steel. This is about supplying advanced high-strength steel, some of our patented products like UC-Bor.
Right now, China's steel market is said to have an excess of capacity, and prices are very low, and steel makers are suffering losses. So at this juncture, do you think building or starting a new plant is a particularly good thing? And why are you so confident about China's high-end or demand for high-end auto steel?
This overcapacity is concern to everybody, not only in China, but on a global basis. People are worried about overcapacities.
You've had to shut down some of your plants as well, right?
Yes. We do not. Our agenda is that if we have an overcapacity in ArcelorMittal, we will shut it down because we want to produce what our customers need. This particular project is making steel for the autos. And auto demand in this country is growing at the rate of 12 to 14% per year. Today, China produces about 22 million units. And if you calculate based on the growth projections, we will need every year one Vama project to be set up in China.
You have an almost 50% stake in Vama, but you've reduced your holding in Valens Steel, whereas previously you said you had wanted to take a controlling stake. What are your thoughts on the Chinese government's attempts to keep out, foreign ownership in the steel sector? And also, are you a little bit disappointed by the lack of progress or your investments in China?
You see, China is the largest producer of steel, and they know how to make steel.
Raw steel.
They know how to make rolled steel. But there is a lot to still learn about making high quality steel. And I think by making our stronger presence in this joint venture, we are bringing in more value to the steel making than just providing value to the rolled steel. And that is one reason that why we have moved to this joint venture. And we think this is the requirement for this country, and this is the requirement for our customers in China.
Okay, so obviously in the chase for profitability, high-end auto steel is the big focus for ArcelorMittal in the future.
ArcelorMittal has the technology advantage, whether it is a process or the product. We continue to invest in our R&D. We have more than 1,300 people engaged in developing steel for our customers. And we clearly want to work with our customers, participate in their demand, and continue to develop steel what is needed not only today, but what is needed in the future. And this is our specialization in terms of the steels for high value-added products. We will continue to focus wherever our customers need us.
What are you expecting for the whole year, and what are you seeing around the world in terms of demand trends?
Last year, global steel demand grew at the rate of about between 3 and 4%, largely driven by China. China growth was about 7%. And this year, global demand will still grow by 3% or 4%. But this time it will not be driven primarily by China, because other economies of the world, which namely European economy and the American economy, will be growing faster in terms of uses of steel.
So that works out better for you because you have more of your sales coming from Europe and America.
We are a global company. We have presence in more than 30 countries where we are making steel. But obviously our presence in Europe and America is much bigger than presence in the emerging markets. So we will be benefited more this year arising out of developed markets demand.
Will you be shifting your focus from those developed markets to the emerging economies?
No, we already have enough capacity to produce in these developed markets, and we can cater to these markets from our existing capacities. We don't have to build new capacities. Clearly, we will like to participate in the growth of the market, not by new capacities, but by utilizing our capacities more. And there will be no change. We still believe that emerging markets have a great potential, and we are continuing to look at our opportunities to growth in the emerging markets. For example, in Brazil, we are continuously participating in the growth of the Brazilian steel market, because auto companies there also are expanding, and we, ArcelorMittal, being the largest supplier of steel to auto companies in the world, we like to participate in the growth of niche products like the steel for auto companies, similar to what we are doing here in China.
Okay, coming to that, you still have a lot of spare land on this project. So tell us what's in store for phase 2 and phase 3.
The kind of products which we are making is not about the volume, it is about the quality and the customers. And since we are the largest supplier to all the global customers, and here we plan to supply also to the domestic Chinese car manufacturers. So we hope that we are able to supply them the quality of the steel what they need in terms of strength, in terms of lightweight, in terms of providing safety to the cars. And if we continue to succeed, and if we are able to establish well with our customers for their future need, we will look definitely to continue to strengthen our presence, maybe more expansion.
Are you concerned about, technology transfer, losing your competitive edge down the line?
We have built a great trust and confidence in our relations over the last 10 years with the Hualin Group. So our partnership is not new. It's already 10 years, and we have worked together, we have learned a lot, we have built trust, we have built confidence, and we know that our partner is very reliable and trustworthy, and we can bring technology which is required by our customers. And we will have to work with the partners as well as with our customers.
As the backbone of the global economy, the state of the steel sector depends on the shape of the global economic recovery. The global economy is in firmer shape, but there are wildcards. Europe's recovery is ho-hum and weighed down by high debt and unemployment. Emerging economies have their hands tied with structural problems. Unexpected geopolitical tensions, like in Ukraine and Iraq, make for more downside risks. All in all, a challenging environment for steel companies. Horizon watching is more important than ever in a more globally integrated market. ArcelorMittal used to be known for its very aggressive merger and acquisition strategy. But since the global financial crisis, it's seen that perhaps some of the investments have been scaled back. How is that going in India, where you have a $6.5 billion project?
We have seized the opportunity. For example, we have just acquired a downstream facility in the United States, in Alabama. We acquired from Thyssen Group, and most modern state-of-the-art downstream facility in the world. So we are seeing that our presence in the United States need to be strengthened. So we have looked at the opportunity and we have acquired this company. As far as India is concerned, we have not seen the growth which we had anticipated. At the same time, we have not yet fully succeeded in getting all the process completed for the land, for the iron ore mines, infrastructure. There's a lot of work still to be done, and we will continue to monitor the growth prospects, demand prospects, our customers' need, and then if all the formalities are done based on the viability of the project, we will look at it.
And how have the geopolitical tensions in Ukraine with Russia affected your production?
We have a large presence in Ukraine. Clearly, we are concerned about the geopolitical situation in Ukraine. We are monitoring it. But the good thing is, and we are fortunate because we have a great support of our employees and our local management, our operations are normal. And that is very pleasing to me, that in spite of the geopolitical concern, our operations are normal, our employees are turning up on time, they are producing well, they are all working together to make sure that in spite of these uncertainties, we continue to produce and ship to our customers, in spite of the fact, though the domestic demand is definitely slowed down because of this uncertainty, and our plant in Ukraine is mostly export-oriented plants, and so we are able to continue to produce and ship.
And Russia?
We do not have major presence in Russia.
But demand?
Demand is slowed down. Clearly, because of this uncertainty, we are seeing that economy will be contracting this year opposed to expectation of growth like emerging markets. That is the unfortunate part.